Coffee, yes.
Then he left. We have to tip you?
Of course.
Let's get this show on the road.
Not yet. You got a minute to go.
I just may. It looks like we've got, wow, we got 4 people on. Hey guys. I don't know if you can see me. No, you can't. Hey guys, we're just a moment from starting, so hang tight.
Don't you spill that coffee
Right, don't you spill it on me.
on your
on my video studio here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Drowning in coffee.
I hope every time you get up, the tip goes down too. Huh? Every time you get up, the tip should go down too. Breathe. Oh, good.
Wait,
You know, I always
you know, parties of more than 3 is like an automatic 20% gratuity. When she has to serve more than 3 people, there's an automatic 20% gratuity. It'll be attached to your bill. Didn't you see the sign at the door? Never serious.
Way yesterday when I drove by 18 the other way.
I will not be held responsible for having my own agenda.
What was that agenda is the question.
I have no idea, but I was so focused on it, I didn't notice somebody waving to me.
Just the fact that you were driving.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
You know what's funny that you say? I'm sorry I didn't write. I have that experience all the time around here. All the time. Somebody's like, you didn't pick up my uncle. It's like, your uncle? Where was your uncle? He's walking down the road. He was waving at you. I'm like, really?
Judy, you drove right by me, and I said, I'm really sorry I didn't see you.
Yeah?
I get that too sometimes. Who notices who's in a car or the glare or?
I function with blinders on. I'm going from A to B. People are just like an obstruction. They'd have to jump in front of my car and go, Scott, I need a ride. It's like, you need your head examined. You almost got run over.
You were never a hitchhiker yourself.
No, you know, I'm of the generation where we were not encouraged to hitchhike. Yeah, because it was dangerous, like eating Halloween candy from a stranger.
You missed a whole experience.
That's right.
You really did.
All right, guys, I think we're going to get started,
Hard to get it.
mostly because we got people waiting for us on the flip side of the internet. Hello, everyone out there.
Both of them?
Yeah, all 2 of them. There was 4. There's 2 people that were interested and 2 people that are staying, apparently. We scared them off. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Once again, this is the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and I'm happy to be your guest host each week as we meet here at Tequilas and talk about today's tech topics. In typical fashion, we are unorganized, without an agenda, and I encourage you all to bring your questions and topics as I have done myself. If you guys have anything you want to start with, let's see if anybody's got a topic they want to bring up right from the bat.
How do you make a list?
Yes.
Oh, I have one.
Please raise your hand. Bob, go ahead.
Well, I think you ought to, first of all, know that we have the most famous yacht broker, or maybe he's retired, sitting at the end of the table. I think that he sold Carlos Slim his 300-foot yacht that parks out here in the bay. And I wish you'd stand up. What's your name?
I can't stand up, but I would.
I will. And he must have a computer problem or he wouldn't be here.
No, I'm Charlie.
Hey,
And,
Charlie, thanks for coming.
I am wonderfully, they have the most wonderful term in Mexican Spanish for retirement. It's jubilado. I am jubilant. I'm happy to be here. I do have a question about Tableau.
Tableau. I'm not familiar with what that is.
Well, now's the time.
All right. Tableau. Anybody heard of Tableau?
Carlos Slim knows about that.
What is Tableau? Can you enlighten us?
Tableau is an over-the-air DVR.
Over-the-air DVR.
In other words, it's a box that you buy, and
OTA,
voila,
DVR,
Tableau.
Tableau.
The company is called Nuvo, I think, or Nuvio. Anyway,
Hey, may I take a look at that?
yes, you
Yeah.
may. I have the
Woo!
Good catch.
I have the Tableau Lite.
Didn't know we were adding special effects to our meetings, did you?
They also make a Tableau Quad. Tableau Lite is basically you can simultaneously record two programs at the same time. Quad is 4. The idea is you connect an HD antenna to the box to an external hard drive. I bought a 1 terabyte hard drive for chump change these days. And essentially up comes a guide and you can record. It's just for over the air. But I mean, in Tucson these days, I was astonished to see that we get from my little antenna that I stuck on the window 64 channels, 64 digital channels. And, you know, I only wanted to see one of them, but.
Well, we talked a lot about the over-the-air HD TV last year or the year before, when Recast TV came out with Amazon.
Yeah.
And this looks like a very similar style product.
I suspect it is. What I like about it, you can also do what's called Tableau Connected. Aha, you can access it remotely.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to. So if you lived in an area in the States that has good, like Phoenix, Tucson, these are good examples of places that are doing over-the-air HD TV, which is amazing quality. It's amazing quality. In a lot of areas, they're getting better HD TV over the air than they're providing you with cable services because they haven't updated the cable infrastructure. But the local broadcasters had to, by FCC mandate, update to HD TV.
I didn't want to do it until and what started it all was more than a year ago when the rumblings began about DirecTV going away.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, the only thing we watch is public broadcasting anyway, Tucson local. So this became available, I connected it, and it's not hard to install. The best is to connect it directly to your router in wherever. You don't have, it doesn't have to be yours, it can be a very good friend who lives someplace that you can. I mean, it doesn't take up much room in the boxes that much. It does need an antenna. And anyway, then you can set up Tableau Connect. And ostensibly, you should be able to watch it anywhere in the world. No VPN, just you connect remotely to your router wherever it is in the US or Canada, and you watch TV. If it were so simple.
How much does it cost?
The box itself goes on sale. I bought it at Amazon for $109.
It's cheaper than the Recast TV.
I bought cheaper than Apple Shoes. It's inexpensive. That's for the light.
You said it doesn't come with a storage device, so you have to add that to it.
It comes with some storage, but it's only a few programs. Adding it's a USB connection to the box, you're done. It connects by Ethernet cable to the router. At best, it can be connected by Wi-Fi, but then it starts getting sketchier in terms of bandwidth.
Charlie, does it work?
Sort of.
That's why he's here.
Now, my question is, why does it freeze? Why does it freeze? That's on an Android device with the Tableau app. And on a Chromebook, which, now I should say that the advice I got was from a genius guy who isn't here today, Al Shogren. And he uses precisely that setup. Box, Tableau box, external hard drive, Chromebook in San Carlos, box sits in Seattle, and he's in great shape. But he won't answer emails now, and I think I somehow offended him.
I said, no, his wife too. I said, geez, we used to be good buddies, nothing.
On Chromebook, it's hopeless. The only way with a Chromebook, because it's Chrome OS and we don't even want to go there. Chrome OS, I have to go to mytableautv.com
As a website.
as a website and look at it, and nothing comes up. On the Android, it comes up, the channel guide comes up, I can select programs that I want to record either once or recurring record, and I should be able to watch it. They're all residing on the hard drive. But it's like the bad old days of buffering. Now, I have reduced the video quality from, they recommend like 3,
Charlie, have you spent any time in your location using it in Tucson?
Yes,
And you don't suffer buffering when you're there? So
it's only remote.
it's only remote. Is it everywhere you go remote? Like in here, they have a fiber optic connection that'll go up
I
to
have a
30,
fiber optic
40?
connection.
So do you have 30, 40 contracted? What's the speed of your fiber optic?
It's the cheapest.
It's the cheapest fiber optic.
I think it is 20 meg.
Okay.
In reality, it's a little less than that, but download speed, but,
Have you had an opportunity to try it out in other locations other than San Carlos?
no.
No. Okay, so the buffering problem that you're having, you're only familiar with it while you're in San Carlos. When you're in your house, it works just fine.
When I was up there, I tried, interestingly, it defaults when it's connected to my wireless router there. It defaults to that when I'm there. I wasn't able to go to it through the remote, if that makes any sense. It would just go straight to the Wi-Fi of the router that it was hardwired to by Ethernet. So that wasn't a good test. The Chromebook, however, did work there, but again, it wasn't going through remote. It was going through the Wi-Fi router.
So were you looking at it? Were you looking at the router, or were you looking at the Tableau service with the Chromebook?
Tableau service.
Wow, that's interesting.
So anyway, no, I'm sorry. It would have been the router up there
Okay,
directly.
directly.
So anyway, that's sorting out Chrome OS is something that it may be best resolved by buying a Windows 10.
Well, you know, if you're able to do it through Chrome on a Windows machine or a Macintosh computer, you should be assuming you can do it on Chrome OS. If you can do it through the Chrome browser,
One would think, but I have a first generation Chromebook, that's the other thing.
is it not getting updates? If you look at the About
It's no longer supported.
by Google. Okay.
Thank you.
That's well, it's what, 3 years old? Of course you won't be able to use it after 3 years. And what world do you think you live in? You need to buy a new refrigerator every 5 years.
And a new knee every 70 or so. So anyway, I just was hoping someone here, I was hoping Al would be here because he is a wonk about it, really knows his oats. He isn't, but,
Well, I've never used Tableau, and the Amazon Recast I'm only familiar with theoretically. I've never actually touched or set one up before, but I understand the concept. The buffering. I mean, if it's good in your house, then you got to think it's got to have something to do with getting all the way here. Yeah, I'm really curious if you try different, like try Mega Cable, try different locations, see if you find a location around town that doesn't have a buffering problem, to narrow down what might be causing it.
Have you been over to your neighbor's house? And
Yes, Judy.
tried it?
On Consumer
There?
Report, Bob,
he's got the exact same
it
system
says
that I do.
$150 for a lifetime subscription.
Could be mine.
For what?
For Tableau?
Tableau,
Tablet?
Tableau,
Tableau.
Oh, that.
Is that in addition to the product price?
yes.
So the product is 100 and
Actually, the Tableau Quad, it says, this is a Consumer Report, $200, which requires a separate hard drive. And it doesn't require a subscription, but it's useful if you have one, because then you can look at the guide for 14 days out. $5 a month, 50 a year, or 150 for lifetime.
Yeah, the quad, I didn't bother with the quad because I'm a cheapskate. And the light was 139 retail, and it went on sale for 109, so I stopped. Actually, no, I think it was on, it was Best Buy had it for 109. And I walked in.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
I'm not quite done. I am not a cheapskate. I'm a big spender. And
Okay, remember, I've got video and audio going back to 2009, man. That's a real generalization you're making there.
But this morning I had a nice conversation with the most famous black guy in the world, and he was here, if some of you remember, and he hates iPads. He loves Android, and he's the one who had the magnetic wire that just touched, that we were talking about two
Oh, yeah.
years ago.
Right, yeah.
And he's got cancer and has gone through treatment, and he's been up to Tetekawi, to the top once, and he's
You wanna be
coming back
cameraman?
for a second
Hey,
time
Dad made
in a
it.
couple weeks. So it was good to talk to him. His spirits were up, but he's got cancer, and treatment is just about done.
Okay. That's
Where were we going with this, Bob?
It was a PSA.
He said to tell everybody hello. That's what he said.
all right.
Hello.
Well, hello. Do you have a question?
No, not a question.
Oh, okay.
An announcement.
An announcement? Okay. And then Maggie?
Okay. I checked the weather in Alberta this morning, minus 40. So, buddy, anybody that wants to complain about being cold this winter down here, just keep that in mind. The wind chill was minus 47. The school buses aren't running.
It's like giving a break.
They can't start.
No, they just won't take kids.
That's funny.
That's at your place.
Yeah, well, Edmonton. Yeah.
Scott,
Yes, Bob.
can I tell a story along that line?
Certainly. My father is a retired administrator from the Anchorage School District, and he has experience with school buses in the cold.
Yes. No doubt.
So the one experience that was the most fascinating was we had a new superintendent come up from Minnesota, which of course quite often has more severe times in the winter than we have in Alaska. But we had a particularly cold spell, and it hit all of Alaska. And virtually all of the school districts had to close. Average temperature was below 50. And so but the new superintendent from Minnesota, I think, decided he was gonna prove how tough he really was. So he said, we're gonna have school. Well, it was horrendous. I was elementary school principal. I was out picking up kindergarten kids, things like that. It just got crazy. Anyway, he never apologized. It was a real disaster. And when he was talking to the leadership group later on, he said, I was talking to the guy up in Fairbanks and said, and they'd closed school. He said, couldn't you keep the school going? The buses going? He said, yeah, we kept them going just fine. But when we started to drive them, the tires broke off.
True story. Thanks, Pop.
I have a question. Why do they make it so hard to make a list of people to come to an event using the app iPad?
Okay, we're gonna have to narrow in on that topic.
Yeah.
What are you using for creating events?
Well, using your contact list.
Using your contact list.
Yeah.
Because to begin with, you're gonna want a platform that you can share events with, right?
Right.
So you would pick something,
Invite people and-
something like a Yahoo Groups or a Facebook event, something like that. Otherwise, it's going to be a hodgepodge of different ways that your people would be. I mean, if you're event focused, then it's going to be a hodgepodge of ways that they might receive that event information. Otherwise,
Wouldn't
it's
be just an email.
well, it could be just an email, and it would just be a matter of selecting those contacts that it's supposed to go out to. You could,
Yeah, but if you want to do it repeatedly and
Well-
not have to put the names in every time.
yeah, you could build a group and put the names in the group.
Yahoo
And
does
It's
then-
not as easy, is
It
it?
is. You have to have
Yahoo has a,
That's okay.
Yahoo.
I don't know, what is she on? I've forgotten.
She's on Gmail,
Gmail.
but she doesn't have any contacts in her Gmail.
They're all on her Macintosh device.
Well,
So,
it doesn't matter if they're on the device.
yeah.
I think so.
Well, if she's using a
Not the
Macintosh email client, I mean, she might be on Gmail, but if she's using Mac Mail, then she has access to her address book. And that address book can be set up with groups in it.
And it's called contacts, like I showed you.
Yeah.
Well, contacts is in Gmail, but address book is what it's
No,
called
it's
in
Contacts on my
on iPad.
iPad.
Oh, okay. Is she using an
Yes.
iPad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's
That's
going to be a
an
little
old-
different.
Yeah, I know.
Contacts.
And can you
Operator
can
error.
set up groups on your iPad? Is that right?
I think I can. There's a little button that
You
says
think
groups.
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not intuitive. It's,
There's a little button that
There's-
says groups.
I always get to that button and then
Scott, Maggie made a
the
comment.
latest one.
It's very hard to hear. Bill and Maggie and myself, we're getting old and we can't hear when there's two people talking at
You want me to
once.
smack him?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So speak up, please.
I think it's just going to be a matter of picking a platform, how you're going to do it, and setting up the group beforehand. Because it's after the group is set up, then it's just sent to there. So it's just
I know.
one
Used to be-
contact.
Used to be easy on Microsoft.
Okay.
Had no problem there.
Well, it's just a change. Sometimes it's harder.
I
Uh,
can't pull it. I've got groups.
Maggie, you had a topic you wanted to bring up.
She's got the same problem.
She has the same problem. See, she has the same problem.
Can't hear
The
you.
strangest one, my husband has an iPhone 6, and he keeps getting kicked off the internet.
It's because
And
it's
it
a
won't
six.
automatically sign him back in, he has to go put it back in by hand, or stand next to my phone, put it in that way.
So this is the Wi-Fi connection. He's getting knocked off the Wi-Fi
Getting
connection.
knocked off the SUS and Infinity. And,
So you should reboot the phone.
we did.
Okay, like you did the
We
swipe to
reset
shut
everything.
down
We-
and
I looked up several YouTube videos, we reset everything, we shut down the modems, we restarted, we've done everything.
Mm-hmm. have you deleted the Wi-Fi network that's saved? If you go to the network that you're using, you go to the info, it'll have an option to forget network.
Oh,
And if you forget it, then you're going to be forced to put the password in again. And it could be that just that entry is corrupt. There's just something wrong with that entry, and by removing it and creating it again, you could resolve.
no, I'm not trying.
I'd also try it in different networks. Make sure that it's not a problem with the phone, but it's just a problem in your house.
Oh, yeah, we'll go next door, that's good.
Yeah, connect it to another network and see if you have the same problems.
Okay, and then the other thing, I'm not sure why this is not happening, if he's upstairs, he has very lousy, slow connection. If he comes downstairs where the modems are, it's fine. Doesn't happen with my phone, my tablet, or either one of our laptops.
This is the iPhone?
He's a little outdated.
They don't support 6 anymore.
Well,
They don't support 60.
If you try to
I
extend
know they
it,
don't.
well, it probably would if he gets closer to better experience. So you'd think an extender would help in that respect.
But it doesn't affect my phone, so
Do you have the same model phone?
I have an 8.
You have an 8. Yeah, I mean that's really the issue, is that each device has its own profile of characteristics. And so it could just be that it doesn't have as great of an antenna as the one that you're using. It
And just blaring out.
Yeah, I mean the best comparison you could do is 2 iPhone 6s from the same series and one's behaving differently in the same environment, then you may have a problem. But two completely different devices being compared, it's a bit like comparing apples and oranges. They don't necessarily, they're not necessarily going to behave exactly the same. And it could be, if that's an issue, resolving it would have to involve a range extender.
Okay, that's a good point. I have a friend that's the same model he has. So
Oh yeah, yeah. If he's got the same model, I would definitely see if it has the same problem.
Okay, the display page like this, turned orange. I mean, it's one of their patterns. It didn't just turn orange. One of their patterns, and we can't change it. It's not in wallpaper. It's really ugly.
Is it the whole screen has gone orange, or just your?
Yeah, it's a design. I should have brought it with me. I don't know how to explain it. It's just an orange background.
Okay.
Orange other colors in there as well. I can't remember, maybe some others.
And this is on the.
Just on the display, opens it up, puts in his password, and opens it up like this. It's fine,
But
but that.
like the lock screen, is it?
Yeah, the lock screen.
Hmm.
And I don't see. we
Try
can't
putting a
find
new
any way to
wallpaper in the
change
lock
that.
screen, see if it's.
Yeah. Try going to settings and typing lock screen in the
Yeah.
search and see what comes up for options.
Well, I should have brought his phone, oops, it's phone with me. Okay, I'll try that too.
That was me. Didn't
Yeah,
hear
because
that.
lock screen is the language you're looking for.
And I would say that this all just happened, but if you guys knew my husband in technology, I'm sure he did it. All of it. And I don't know how.
I'll report back next week.
Maggie,
We'll figure it out.
Maggie, that sounds so similar in my household.
Well, you have Windows 7.
My wife always is complaining about the same thing. I don't think she's right.
Bob, can you hear her?
What'd you say?
How are we doing? Are we hitting all the topics people were concerned about? Anybody else have something else they want to bring?
I
Mike?
think of something last night.
You did. I had already looked at this. This is one of the topics that I brought.
Oh,
I
yeah.
liked your article, though, because it was cast in lots of fear and doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it was
And-
wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just like, whoa, I should do something now.
Go back in time, my buddy who was one of the first guys from 1968 to go on computers and get involved, had a career in it. But he's still on Windows 7 forward, and he hates Microsoft. But so he likes to send us propaganda against them. I think called that.
Yeah, no, I think it was
The only
definitely
issue was
intended to.
wallpaper, right?
Well, no, it's more than that.
Okay.
But what has happened, and you can see it has not had great frequency because no one came in here today
Yeah.
to tell me they started their Windows 10 computer and they can't find any of their data. Nobody has that story this morning, right?
I haven't logged on yet.
So there has been an update to Windows 10, and apparently people are, after the update, getting into the computer to find everything missing. Like, everything. Absolutely everything.
Windows 7 still works.
Yes, Windows 7 still works.
Does Windows 10 have a restore function where you can go back to?
And that is the fix. Because what is going on is that their update, number KB4532693, has decided to hide your data and not bring it back from that state. And I'm glad that I read these articles because as a tech person, I would be trying to resolve this issue. Because there are multiple ways to restore your data and keep this update. But it's very painful, and no normal person should have to deal with those procedures. And the article I read recommended just uninstall the update, and everything will go back to normal.
Is this only on the C drive?
This is your primary user profile regardless of where it's located. And again, it's not happening to everybody. It's happening to a small percentage of people.
What is the number on the up?
Under whatever drive you set your profiles to be under. Yeah.
If you have a different partition, obviously it's not looking at it.
Yeah.
What is the number again, please?
You want the number?
Yeah.
I was joking when I read it off, but I'll read it again. KB 45 32 69 3.
You forgot
I'm gonna
Omaha.
check.
Yeah.
I just updated, that's why I'm.
So, yes, if you go in, I'll link to the article on the website. You can find the instructions to go in and restore your computer back to you're basically rolling it back to before this update. No one who has this update with no problems needs to follow these instructions or be aware of this problem. The only people that need to be aware of this problem are the ones that logged into their computer and it's blank. This is where you need these instructions.
And that would have been instantaneous, right?
That would have been the moment you got done with the update. It would have been, the update would have gotten installed overnight. The update would have gotten installed when to restart your computer, or you went to restart it and it said it was going to install an update. I personally, just the other day, was greeted with, your computer will restart with the update. And I was like, oh crap, this is the update I was just reading about. So I very quickly, with no direction from any tech person aside from myself, I went and created a new user account just to have on standby in case I needed an administrative account to help me sort out this problem. The articles I read made it sound like I didn't need it, but my heart and soul was telling me I want to double down on not needing it. So I created a new administrative account. Then I went ahead and let it apply the update and had absolutely no problems with it.
So far.
Well, no, it would be instantaneous. It would be right after the update you would be having this problem. Yes?
So the other day, I opened my computer and the screen was totally blank.
Dun dun
Yeah,
dun.
pushing the on-off didn't do anything, and
Now, when you say totally blank, did you have a taskbar at the
there
bottom?
was nothing on the screen.
Oh, not this
That's not
problem.
the problem. Well, then eventually it just did the update and was fine.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was in the process of finishing the update when you logged into it.
But normally it says you have 33% done.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing, totally blank.
Well, and one of the biggest frustrations right now is that Windows 10 is being marketed to us as a service. What's going on down there?
Tabloing.
We're having a sidebar, Your Honor.
Okay. So, one of the problems with Windows 10 is that you have no choice in taking these updates. They have just recently, with the last major update, that's update 1909, they've given you the ability to put off updates at a week intervals. So that's a little better. What they've been doing since Windows 10 started is they get a profile of your computer, they determine whether they've got the software ready for your hardware, and then they push the update to you, and eventually it's installed. You can either force the install, or over time it's just going to happen. That's great. They're trying to vet the hardware. So if you have hardware that's incompatible with the update, you should not be getting the update in the very first place. But now with the latest version of Windows 10, this 1909, after you've gotten the update, because your hardware should be ready for it, after you've gotten it, you can still choose to postpone it, not indefinitely. Microsoft has said not indefinitely, but in 7-day increments. So if something like this were to occur and your update hadn't been applied, you could go into the settings and you could choose to postpone that update for a week. And you could watch as news comes out about the update and as the fixes and things are coming in, and you could decide again, am I applying it or am I going to put it off for another week? I really wish that we could do a week, 3 weeks, 2 months. I wish that, but they haven't offered us that kind of granularity. This is the most granularity we've had so far with Windows 10. Before it was just shoved down your throat.
Now, if you have a computer that you left home, and 3 months later you come back and turn it on,
It's gonna hurt. Because
take weeks to get it back,
in
right?
fact, what you're gonna find, because Windows 10 is so efficient at using your internet, if you turn it on and it's going through the update process, you may need to turn it off just to use internet in your other devices. Because of the new way that Windows 10 does updates, it grabs updates from your neighbors around your neighborhood. It grabs updates from your neighbors on your internet provider.
That's only if you have it turned on, though.
Yeah, but it's turned on by default. It's turned on by default. And so, let's be fair, it's the tyranny of the default. Nobody's turning it off unless you're Jim or me. Right? There's nobody out there Dave's turning it off too. But normal people are not going in and setting these things to be turned off. And how that translates to our experience with update is you get that update as fast as possible because it's not coming from Microsoft services, it's coming from Bob around the corner. Right? And that's much faster than getting it from services across the country, which means that the opportunity of choking up your internet connection is much higher. And so the entire bandwidth of your internet connection could be dedicated to updating that computer with all the updates you've missed over the last 3 months. And what that means is you can't stream Netflix, you can't use your phone until that computer's gotten updated. Now, maybe your internet connection in the States is insanely fast, and this can happen very quickly. If you have a rural area internet connection, you will probably be, why isn't my phone updating? Why can't I see Facebook? How come I can't use Magic Jack? And you'll go back to that computer that's 3 months and you'll just shut it off so that you can use it and turn it back on when you go to bed. Because it is going to do that kind of behavior until it's done with its updates.
For minutes, hours, days, how long?
On computers that we leave home.
Mm-hmm.
I have one I normally bring down, but I turned it on before we came down, and said it was installing update 1 of 2.
Time's out.
Right?
And then you keep hearing the hard disk cycling and cycling and cycling, and I finally had to force it to go off. And every time I boot it up, it's trying to do these 2 updates and getting in this crazy loop. How do you? So I left it home, but how do you? Am I going to fix it or just throw it away?
Well, I think you. Yeah, it will. If it's Windows 10, it will self-recover.
Eventually, it'll stop doing that.
Yeah, it will either install the update or it will crash and recover itself back to before the update. So I would just turn it on and let it roll. Yeah.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
Have breakfast.
You said something that's very significant. You're still running a spinning disk.
Yeah.
Well, it's 10 times slower than if it was an SSD drive.
That's what my son tells us.
Yeah, and so what you're going to have is an experience that will be much slower than Microsoft is expecting you to be having, because everybody should have SSD drives now. That's the world we're living in.
But I just play solitaire on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand. You might also be experiencing a slowness. What year is your computer?
I have no idea.
Was it? I mean, just having a spinning disk dates the computer. And what is known is that spinning disks wear out, and so over the years that becomes a slower computer because of mechanical issues.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're losing data. Hopefully, you're not losing data. But because of the self-correcting, things that used to go faster are now going slower. And that would be even more so what's that you're trying to install.
Scott,
Yes.
getting back to when this.
Wait, I don't want to leave updates. I don't want to leave updates because I got more to say about updates. Okay. I'll post the article about how to save yourself if you're in this problem. But I don't know if you guys are aware, but Microsoft has announced the next generation of Windows 10. It's going to be Windows 10X. And they have a solution to their updates problem. They have a solution to the problem they created.
Windows 11.
That the solution is that with the more advanced processors everything in Windows is going to be encapsulated into these things called containers. Containers have been around for a while now, especially in the Linux. They're being adopted into the Windows world as well. And what a container is, from our perspective, is a fully functional Windows computer dedicated for that one particular application. This is the best way to think of what a container is. You guys, as consumers, don't have to give it a thought, because the perfect world scenario is you're just using your computer the way you've always used your computer. You're copy and pasting like you typically would. You're printing like you typically would. You surf internet the way you typically would. This is all foundational stuff that's changing. But what it means is that, like, when you run Chrome browser, you're not running it right up against all your other Windows programs, your Photoshops and your Microsoft Word. Chrome is running in this virtual PC, this computer that is feeding it everything it needs to think. It's all by itself, isolated. Sandboxed is the term that they use, is to keep it away from all these other processes. And this has some real benefits. One is security. It's very difficult for viruses to hop across these environments. Another advantage that Microsoft is focusing right now, it's part of their propaganda, is the update system will take 90 seconds to update. And the idea is, from processes from Windows is going to be able to grab their updates in the background without touching any of your data, settings or configurations, so that when it does come time to update, you're going to just restart the computer. You're going to press a button and it's going to take a minute and a half, and then you're done. You're all finished. You won't be aware of the downloading that's been happening in the background. It's going to... This is what they're trying to sell. I've actually got some points here, and I was trying to get it in front of me, but I don't have it. Where is it? Upgrade, change it. Okay. Next generation operating system, I mentioned that. This is going to be released later this year. This isn't something 5 years in the future. This is something late 2020 that's coming out. And we are not going to see Windows 10X for the computers we currently own. It's going to be released on the next generation of hardware, and Microsoft is really marketing. We haven't seen anything that says it has to be, but it's being marketed as the dual screen devices. And if you guys have seen what Microsoft is planning on releasing the end of this year, they have got a dual screen device that's 2 screens side by side. You can open it like a book, or you can open it up like a laptop. You can use a virtual keyboard on one of the screens. They've got a physical keyboard that will flip up on the screen. It'll give you a third of the screen available that you put the keyboard on. That third screen could be a trackpad. It could be, what is it called? I'm describing something that I could probably just throw up on this screen here. I think it's the Duo that I'm talking about. But this new version of Windows is being built for this new laptop. So this is a dual screen Windows 10 device, and this keyboard is removable. That's a physical keyboard that can be taken off of the secondary screen. Oh, do we got some good pictures here? Let's see. There we go. Oh, this is a picture of both their dual screen devices. They're leaning hard into dual screen. They're doing it in a Microsoft way, though. They are not trying to do the folding screens. Both these devices are two separate screens hinged together. I wonder if we can do this. Can we do this? Is this going to work? Do we have any sound? Oh, I tried to put the sound out the TV, but it doesn't want to do it.
You had sound a minute ago.
Yeah, from my laptop. All we want to see is the hinge. Come on. I don't care about any of this. So they've got two devices, the Neo and the Duo, that they're pushing. They say they will be out at the end of 2020. The Neo is a phone for all practical purposes. It's running Android, but they've put a Microsoft front end on it. And then the Duo is a Windows 10 device with this new operating system. And you can see they're not even trying to put the screen, it's two separate screens. And then they have a keyboard accessory that can magnetize the window. And then the whole 2/3 of the screen at the top will be a touchpad. The developers can use it for extra features for whatever the apps are. They haven't announced it. And I'm showing it to you because this operating system is not being offered to our current devices.
Yep.
We're just thinking
Yeah.
that.
You can go back to XP now.
Did you see flip phones are coming back?
So, where is my list of points? Where is my list of points? Here we go. 90 seconds to complete an update. Next generation dual screens, and they are not talking about compatibility with existing Windows 10 PCs. But what is interesting is just this morning I read about a MacBook Pro owner that has loaded it in its entirety, the Windows 10X Developer Suite, on their MacBook, and it has worked flawlessly. They're praising how so well that they have a conspiracy theory that Microsoft did that intentionally, so that they could say it's for their new devices and people could just discover how well it's going to run on everything. But even there's special gestures, everything work on the trackpad with the Mac. I mean, they praised it like they haven't had this kind of Windows experience on a Macintosh in the past. And it's just the beta release of this stuff.
Okay, why hasn't Linux taken over the world?
It has. You're not aware of that? What kind of phone you got? There's Linux everywhere. There's a
Yeah,
Linux
but I
in
mean,
my Fire Stick.
As a
There's
replacement
for the desktop?
yeah.
Well, because our focus moved. Our focus has moved to windows of information through the internet. And we really don't care so much about how we're getting there. And so Windows is important, but it's not their bread and butter anymore, and they have focused their development on creating experiences that you can enjoy on all these platforms, not just Windows. And in that environment, people are less likely to switch to Linux because the focus isn't on getting your money from Windows, if you follow what I mean. Like one of the big jokes right now is how easy it is to upgrade to Windows 10 for free. You've got that old Windows 7 computer, you're still able to upgrade to Windows 10 for free without any problem. Microsoft really wants as many Windows 10 users as possible, but they've done their numbers not based on sales, but on their user base. So they're looking at success based on numbers of people, not numbers of units sold. Because that's not where they're getting their money. They're getting their money from the services that you're buying. The subscription Office, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you pay $100 a year and you can run that. Well, they've got a web version you can run on your Linux computer. Or you can download the Macintosh version. Or you pay $100 a year and you can download it to 5 of the devices in your life. And so that's really where their revenue stream's coming from. And so, I mean, Linux is all over the place, But in a world where you're not paying so much for your operating system, then you're not looking for an alternative. People just aren't. We use Linux everywhere. We use it in our tablets and our phones and in our set-top boxes. The Chromecast is based on Linux. The Fire Stick TV is based on Linux. I mean, Linux is one. It just, you don't ever interface with it because the things that we interface with, it's already, we've gotten it dialed in. You're having a good enough experience with what we're doing. There hasn't been a reason to go. Economy is really the thing that was driving Linux before. People trying to run old computers. I've got Linux in my network. Rich has got Linux in his network.
When your computer crashes because of this update,
yeah.
How are you able to uninstall that update?
Okay. How you know you have this problem is you end up in your computer greeted with nothing. Right? You have your taskbar, you have the settings, you have like a blank, like a first time. Yeah, you have this first time on the computer experience. And that's where you go into settings and you go into updates and you choose to revert it back. And I'll link
the Windows button too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem is you're greeted to this fresh, just created environment instead of your original environment. Hey, let me also say Linux never caught up with the user friendliness. The Linux I run, things like putting a shortcut on the desktop are so much more painful than in a Windows or a Macintosh world. They just never caught up with making it easy for normal people to use. And the exception is your phones. Your Android phones are the best example of easy to use Linux operating systems.
That's not the same for the iPhone then.
Yeah, the iPhone is a different operating system.
Are you ready?
What's up? Yes.
How does Verizon roll out internet service? Is it satellite or through their towers for the cell phones?
Oh, I'm probably not the best one to comment on it. I mean, I'm assuming on their towers, but they also have a massive infrastructure to upgrade if they want to go to 5G. From what I understand, 5G on the tower is possible. It's just not as fast as they're advertising. We're talking about hundreds of megabits a second, not thousands of megabits a second. And to get thousands, it's how we've talked in the past. Base stations on corners of buildings with fiber optics running to those base stations. And that's the infrastructure upgrade that they still haven't started doing across the United States.
That's like Edison's electricity.
Say again?
That's like Edison's electricity in the beginning. In a city, they put out a corner, go around the block. By the time it got to the end, the block was weak.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how the same application.
Well, not necessarily. What they've got is, first of all, 5G stands for the next generation. And so there's a handful of technologies that falls under that umbrella. And the standardized technology, there's two standardized technologies, and one is called millimeter wave technology. And that's a much higher frequency radio broadcast, and that's the one that's going to give us thousands of gigabytes a second. The other one is based on the traditional speeds, the traditional frequencies of radio. And that's the one that is only going to be able to give us hundreds of megabits a second.
In my example, that would be switching from DC to AC/DC.
Well, except for you would never use AC and DC in conjunction on a device.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and so that's where the analogy kind of falls apart. There, it isn't a matter of weakness of signal. It's jumping over to a completely different technology. From the tower, you're still going to get hundreds of megabits of signal. I mean, that's incredibly fast internet. But the thing that people are marketing, the thing that's, we've got to do 5G, is the thousands of megabits a second. That's the big one. And that's the infrastructure that's going to be so expensive to upgrade.
Can we go to one of your other points up there?
Sure. What's my other
How
point?
to secure your WhatsApp account from social hacking.
Okay. So, WhatsApp, a few weeks back, if you guys weren't paying attention, Jeff Bezos claimed to get hacked by who's it, Bonesaw, that one of his good friends, his questionable Saudi Arabia leader, by being sent a meme, some video meme. I wonder what it was. He had to see some chicken suit guy. What this enlightened people to was the ease of, and this hack had little to do with that hack, but it enlightened people to the ease of which you could spoof a SIM card and get somebody to ask to re-authenticate their WhatsApp. And the re-authentication comes as an SMS message. If you've ever had to install WhatsApp, one of the first things you do is you give it your phone number. It sends you an SMS number. In a perfect world, it intercepts that, puts it into the WhatsApp program, and you've become authenticated, and your WhatsApp account gets filled up with your chat contents. I'm paraphrasing in some of this stuff, but that's the process of setting up WhatsApp for the first time. Or if you've manufacturer reset your device and you have to set up WhatsApp again, you give it your phone number, it sends you an authorization code, it intercepts the code, it sets it up, gives you access to your WhatsApp account. So apparently there's some hacks out there where somebody else could intercept this code. So you can prevent the interception of that code. Oh, I know why social is in that title. Is because people have gotten caught up with phone calls. Somebody that wants to get access to your WhatsApp account can phone call or text message you in authoritative form asking for the code that has showed up in your phone. Right? So can you go back through your text messages and give us the code that was just sent to you? And if you give that code to somebody, they don't need your phone number, and they can authorize your WhatsApp account. So until you're aware that you have been deauthorized, they are authorized. And in that time period, they can grab copies of your WhatsApp contacts and behave as though you're WhatsApp, and they can use your account to send messages to your contacts. Social engineering them.
Just by having your phone number?
Well,
No.
not so much that, but by getting you to give up the authentication code that was sent to you when you set up WhatsApp.
But this only works as you're setting it up, because otherwise, who has the authentication codes back a year ago?
Well, and so it has to be used in conjunction with other hacks. So it has to work in a way that has de-authenticated you,
Right.
so that you're getting a code. And so the premise of this topic and this article is to add two-factor authentication to this process, so that when it sends you a code and it intercepts it and starts to set up WhatsApp, WhatsApp goes, okay, this is Judy's WhatsApp account. She's got two-factor turned on. Now I need that two-factor code. So you're able to set up your own PIN number so that when this set of events happens, when you're setting up WhatsApp for the first time on a new device, or for some reason you've become de-authenticated, like you've gotten caught by one of these hacks, it'll ask you one more question. It'll ask you for that PIN number that you set up.
Right.
And I set this topic up long enough ago, I don't have the instructions in my head anymore. Did you get it?
Well, I see where I could do it.
Okay. So you enable it in WhatsApp, you give it the PIN that you want to use, and then from that point on,
And then you have to re-register your phone number with WhatsApp.
That's
if
right.
You've enabled it.
and then you've got it enabled, and that way, if you have an occasion, you've got a new phone that you're putting WhatsApp on, you've factory reset your phone and you're putting WhatsApp back on, now what'll happen is it's going to ask you for that PIN you set. Without that PIN, you will never get that count re-authenticated. I mean, unless they've done something poor in its implementation and it can be hacked. The idea is that PIN is golden and you must have that PIN. When you set that PIN, if you decide to do this and you set that PIN, make sure you know exactly what you set it to, because that will be the last time you can use that WhatsApp account
Without the PIN.
Does that mean that if you get an email, does this have anything to do with email? Nothing.
No, not really.
Because I get emails every now and then where I have sent somebody an email and they send something to me, and I've wondered if they are compromised and they've done something that allows them to send me an email that has nothing to do with what they would say.
Well, the thing with these email lists of compromises to your address book may have occurred any time in the past, and they have a list of your contacts, Bob's contacts. That's what they've ended up with. And so then they're able to send to people, and I say they when I'm generalizing programs, malware. When I say they, I'm not talking about humans right now. They're able to send out compromises to people in that list as though they're from Bob.
No, as though they were from a friend of mine.
You're
Yeah.
the receiver.
That's another way that they could do it, is they could take somebody else out of that list and they could send it to other people in that list, because it's very common for people to have the same group of friends. And so the majority of people in your list, they may be looking like very legitimate correspondence.
See, I'm pretty careful about my list
Mm-hmm.
and not compromising my situation, but I wonder about other people.
Yeah. Well, they could create a list like that. I mean, it still happens. I'm very frustrated with my kids' school class. We put the kids in school at the end of the summer in Alaska to give them a U.S. experience of school, and we're still there when school's starting, so it's available. And my youngest daughter's teacher has ended up with an old email list and keeps sending me updates from her grade school class that she's not attending. And I haven't contacted him yet, but what's even more infuriating is that he's using the 2 on the email. So my email is listed with like 90 other parents. I can see every parent in this list, which means any robot that gets a hold of one of these email addresses knows that every one of those email are associated.
Isn't there an easy way to make them go out individually?
There is, and that's why I'm disappointed in this grade school teacher, is because there is an easy way to
What
do
is that
it.
easy way?
Well, he could stick all those in BCC, the blank carbon copy format.
Okay.
Right? When you go to address it, you address it to BCC, and there's an individual email that goes out, each one of them addressed to an individual. But if you stick it in the 2, everyone gets a copy of everyone's email address. So it doesn't need to be you getting compromised. It could be your friend got compromised and a whole list of people in some badly formed email has put you on that list.
And someone will inevitably hit reply all.
Yeah, reply all.
Right, exactly.
And now everybody has everybody's. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do about that except educate people as you run into it. Change your email address when required. We've definitely, junk mail filters have become very sophisticated. We went through a period of time where the only cleanup was to change your email address. And that's not necessarily the case, but still, if you're compromised, if you keep getting compromised, if people keep coming to you going, you're sending me compromise. Well, you're not. Your computer is not infected. More often than not, your computer is not infected with something. Your digital persona is what's been infected. Your name has been compromised, right? Like your Bob address has become compromised. That's not any of your equipment. That's just, there's a list of emails, and they know Bob is part of that list, and so they're sending all these threats to people on that list as though they're you, and you have nothing to do with it.
I have another question.
Certainly. As we're reaching the end of the hour.
I am interested, and this probably shows my ignorance, that's why I'm glad that everybody's gone.
Okay.
I am interested in a class where I'm taking Spanish.
Okay.
And he writes things on a whiteboard, and he erases them, but I want to get them copied so I can use them and study them. And so I'm thinking that a phone could take a picture.
Yes.
Okay.
A very common way to do things now.
Okay. I've never done that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could just take a photo of his whiteboard.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
how can I get that into my computer and into a big screen TV?
Well, if your phone's connected to the internet, then there's a function for sharing to another application, and that can include
wireless?
email.
Is that wireless?
Well, I mean, if you're connected to the internet, it really doesn't matter how you've done it, but you're just using your phone on the internet.
No, I'm not using the phone on the internet.
Okay, that would be your easiest
Because
solution.
my phone is locked in Mexico.
Well, you could be hooked to your Wi-Fi network.
Okay, how about just a wire?
To your phone?
No, to the computer.
Well, then you're going to get into using synchronizing software, and I mean, it's going a whole different route.
So the easy way would be to do what?
To use the share function in your phone. So you select the photo, you choose share, and then it'll have a number of applications you could share it to. One of those would be email, so you could just email it to yourself. Or you could use a service like Google Drive or OneDrive. These are cloud hard drives. Do you have a, Bob? For some reason I'm remembering you have a Hotmail account.
Yeah.
So your Hotmail account comes along with a OneDrive account.
Okay.
And OneDrive is a hard drive in the internet, in the cloud.
Okay.
And you can install OneDrive in your phone, and you can install it. It's probably installed in your computer. If not, it's very easy to install. So then you could just save that picture to your OneDrive on your phone. It would sync to the cloud, and you'd have access to it from your.
To the cloud, and the cloud then goes to the computer.
That's right.
And the computer goes to the TV.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, and so there's no wires involved.
No. No, in fact, there was a time where I would encourage people to connect phones and synchronize, and now I don't. Mostly because of the hassle and the knowledge that goes along with it. But also, plugging and unplugging cables damages devices. And so there are these more elegant solutions. Now that we've gotten above 10 megabits a second, these are much more elegant solutions to deal with these problems.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Charlie. Hey, I'd be interested in an update with you, the solutions that you come up with. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
That was interesting. Okay.
The knowledge that goes along with it. OneDrive or G Drive or Google Drive. If you've got an Apple account, there's the iCloud Drive.
OneDrive or G Drive?
Yeah, well, it's Google Drive, I think is the name of it now, is Google Drive. Now, the frustration, what I like about OneDrive versus Google Drive is that OneDrive actually looks like a hard drive on your computer. So you can go to it the same way you would go to a jump drive.
You just type in OneDrive.
Sure, yeah, that would get you started. You'd find the information. But you're running Windows 7, right? Yeah, you would have to download and install OneDrive in Windows 7 for it to run. But then what it would do is it would set up a folder on your computer, and that folder would be dedicated to syncing to the cloud. So anything in that folder or in the cloud, there'd be a duplication in both areas. If you put something on your computer in that folder, it would appear in the cloud. If you put something in the cloud, it would appear in that folder.
Okay, so OneDrive from the phone
And then
to the computer, and then how do you pick this up in the computer?
Well, that's the thing. It's from the phone to OneDrive, and then you go over to your computer,
Okay.
and you go into OneDrive, and now you have it available on the computer. You're welcome, Maggie. You can access the OneDrive hard drive on your computer as though it's a hard drive on your computer. So if you need it,
How do you access it?
well, here, look. If we were to go into,
You just type in
as long as we're still
OneDrive?
talking about this, let's do this. We'll do a display capture. So if you go into Documents or into a, come on,
So you go to
File
Documents.
Explorer. We're looking for a File Explorer window. And for some reason, it's probably because I'm streaming. What's this doing? And here's OneDrive right here.
Okay.
You see I have folders, I have my computer, I have OneDrive.
Okay.
And here's where everything in OneDrive is. And I can access it as though it's on my computer. Well, it literally is on my computer.
Okay, so how would, once I put OneDrive on my computer
And on your phone.
and on the phone.
Yeah, you would go to the apps store and type in OneDrive and install it.
Okay, and
You'd
then-
sign in with your Hotmail
Okay,
account.
And then you obviously using it for different things. I don't know what, but then what shows up on the, if I've just installed OneDrive, what would show up?
Just probably some basic folders just to get you started. Just more for reference than anything else. You could wipe out anything that would be in it. It's just space, like you were plugged in a USB drive.
Okay.
The difference is it doesn't come from a device in your hand, it comes from the internet.
Okay.
Does that help?
Comes from the internet.
Now,
The phone is
If-
not connected to the internet.
Now, Bob, if we're still talking about displaying pictures using that Chromecast, if that's what you're talking about, then I've been very impressed with my ability to take photos. I think I told you before, I set up the Chromecast to act as a digital picture frame,
Yeah.
displaying pictures from a folder in Google Photos.
Okay.
The folder I used was a smart folder, which means I assigned the faces that I want to have appear in that folder. I check marked my wife's face, my daughter's faces, my face, my in-laws' faces, my parents' faces. I put check marks next to each one of those faces. And so Google's AI searches my gallery for those pictures that have those faces. And they stick them in my digital picture frame, my Chromecast picture frame. And I've had great success in taking new photos. And the photos off my phone are syncing to Google Photos. And Google Photos is using the AI to see the new pictures and see, oh, these are some of those faces, and putting them in that smart folder.
Really?
So every day, there are new pictures popping up on my digital picture frame through Chromecast without me having to move photos around or do anything. All I do is take the photo, and after Google Photos has done its regular backup sync, that's all automatic.
That's way too complex for me.
No, it's complex so that you don't have to deal with it. After it's in place, it's set and forget.
Right, but getting in place, that would be hard.
No, it's not that hard at all.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be a setup on the Chromecast, a setup on your phone, you're done.
Okay, so I take my phone to the class. I take a picture of the whiteboard. Okay? Then I go home and I have to look up OneDrive.
Yeah, well, if you want to, see, you've got a number of different options. If you want to, like the picture frame, I want pictures to be there all the time. And so that's why I create this virtual picture frame.
Well, I want it to stay there, yeah.
So, but if this is for a class, maybe you just want to be able to see it that one time,
No, I wanna be able to save it,
so that you can, well,
so I can go back to it.
but it's on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is like, I just want to review information, then you may not need to save or change location of this file at all. Your phone may have the capability of just projecting it up to your TV. And then you don't need to do any of this. You just need to learn how to project it to your TV.
How do you do that?
Well, it depends on what kind of a device you have. I know you have a Roku device.
I do,
You also have a Chromecast.
I do, I just got that.
So when you have the Chromecast set up with your phone, it's a simple matter of just saying display to the Chromecast.
It's not, right now, it's not set up to the
Yeah.
phone.
But after it's set up, it's just a simple device of just saying display it to my Chromecast.
Display.
Yeah, there's a function in your phone. We'd have to explore that.
Yep,
But after you know how to do that, it's a simple click, click, and it's over on your TV.
okay.
And so Roku has that kind of capability, and the Chromecast has that
I
capability.
figured as much, yes.
Yeah. And so then you don't have to worry about these cloud services or any of that. If your goal is to be able to look at it expanded when you get back home, maybe that's your easiest
Expand,
solution.
you mean bigger?
Yeah,
bigger?
big on a big screen instead of the little phone.
Well, yes, I don't wanna look at the little phone.
Yeah.
I wanna look at the big screen.
But your goal isn't a picture frame of loved ones.
No.
Your goal isn't watching a movie. Your goal is just to get it big because you took a picture of it and it's too small
Right,
to see.
right.
So you might find just casting it to your screen in that moment is the best solution.
And then if I wanted to save it,
Well, it is on your phone, so it's already saved on your phone. But I've talked in the past, I really think everyone should have Google Photos. I think you should install Google Photos, use that unlimited backup, and then you have a backup in the cloud of all your photos from your phone. In case something happens to your phone, all those pictures are already saved. And then you can deal with those photos through Google Photos. You can go to them as a website. You can literally, let me bring up, we've had Google Photos up here, my Google Photos up here in the past before. I got too many things open here. Let me go to the Computer Club's Google Photos.
I have to ask this man, did you like those pictures of the other room?
yes,
the
they
other
look good,
apartment?
yes, yeah.
I'm looking for the Google
We're not
Photos
using
app
them yet,
here.
though.
So
That's the problem,
Bob,
yeah.
here I am. This is my Google account. I'm signed into it. My Gmail is up in the corner there. Right here is extra apps. They're not showing up on the TV, but they're right here. And Google Photos is one of these extra apps.
Oh, really?
You're
Okay.
already immediately signed into it on your web browser. This
Right.
is Google Photos for the Computer Club's account, but these are two photos that I have sitting in Google Photos. And if I needed to save it and use it for something else, then I should be able to just grab it and drag it and drop it. And that didn't work. That just sent me a link. Let me see if that worked. No, that's still a link. So I guess I do have to go through a download function to get it down to my computer.
Right. Okay.
And that's where things like the OneDrive is more convenient for a Windows user because you can see it as a hard drive.
How do I learn about how to use OneDrive?
Google OneDrive,
Just-
Microsoft
just-
OneDrive, but
just
you
type in-
already have access
Just,
to it.
just type in OneDrive.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
OneDrive instructions.
I mean, to give you an example, let me get into my Hotmail real quick. Because just like the Google stuff, it's got a list of the apps that are available to you. I'm just
And
going.
they tell you what the apps will do.
Well, they've got help right there built
They
into
do.
them. They're all web apps.
Okay. Because I'm not as smart as these people in this club.
Let me shut down our club and we'll.
Yeah.
This has been the San Carlos Computer Club. I am Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions. If you're interested in these videos and other meetings, check out our website at sccClub.org. If you're looking for computer help anywhere on the internet, I'd appreciate you get a hold of us. My office, International Computer Solutions. You can find our website at internationalcs.net or you can contact me directly with scott@internationalcs.net. Until next Tuesday, meet you at Tequila's at 9:15. Tech on.